Okay, continue my Dragon Ball Z versus DC. I decided to actually pick an actual group this time. So I have the Ginyu Force taking on Black Adam, but not just any regular Black Adam. The Black Adam during World War III. The premise that was during 52, essentially the four horsemen of the apocalypse attacked the country that Black Adam was doing a very good job managing and leading, which led to the death of his wife and his son. So essentially destroying the Black Adam family. So you have a very, very pissed off Black Adam who essentially was able to destroy the Great Ten, which was China's force, as well as pretty easily march through the JSA, the Doom Patrol, and the Teen Titans, even punching one of them through it. He killed Terra by essentially pointing his fist through her chest. And he was actually able to defeat them fairly easily until Captain Marvel, who at this time was the Wizard Shazam, was able to remove all Black Adam's powers. So you've got that version of Black Adam versus, I actually had to pull up the list of everybody for the Ginyu Force to make it easier. Versus the Ginyu Force, which, as we know, is Galdo, Raccoon, if I pronounced something wrong, I'm entirely sorry, Birder, Chase, and Captain Ginyu. And as always, we're going through the 9 things as always. Bring up my list of the 9 things, trying to make it smaller so I can still read everything. There we go. So you have intelligence, fighting ability, strength, speed, durability, vulnerability, energy projections, versatility, and X Factor. Okay, intelligence. Now, why did I pick the Ginyu Force? Me and my wife were in, I think we were in New Orleans, and I was watching some cartoons, and Dragon Ball Z came on. The Ginyu Force showed up, and I was like, "All right, the Ginyu Force." She went, "This is what?" It's a show I watched with my dad. How old were you? I was like mid-20s. She was watching. She was like, "These are like a bunch of idiots." I was like, "Yes, but they're very good at fighting." So you have that versus Black Adam. Black Adam essentially is like the evil version of Captain Marvel. So he's someone who is literally empowered by a multitude of gods. So of course he ends up having a god level of intelligence, as well as he can rule a country fairly easily. And at this time, he was able to defeat the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse before he trounced through pretty much every superhero with the exception of the major ones. Because there are 52 that they were gone for a year. So intelligence, Black Adam, fighting ability. DC characters, if you're not a street lethal character trained by Batman, you're pretty much punching kicks. So the Ginyu Force actually has a better fighting ability. Strength. It's Black Adam all the way. This is, while it took a non-Super Saiyan Goku to defeat most of the Ginyu Force on his own, that's nothing to an enraged Black Adam. Speed. Again, it's an enraged Black Adam. You've got a lot of different abilities here, and you've got some decent speed, but knowing that the regular Goku was able to defeat them, I'm pretty sure Black Adam, being enraged, is probably going to tear through these guys ridiculously fast. Durability. When it comes to the ability to recover, everybody in Dragon Ball Z pretty much has almost human level recovery, with the exception of Namex. Everyone who receives a decent amount of injury, they don't have enough time to actually just sit back and recover. That's why they had, sensu beans and everything else in recovery chambers. Invulnerability. You were comparing Frieza's elite armor versus the invulnerability you get from gods. Energy projection. I've yet to see Black Adam shoot any beam or anything from any part of his body, except for in some of the cartoons. So right there, that absolutely has to go to the Ginyu Force. Everybody has some sort of, projectile, if not multiple projectiles. Look through some of the stuff now, you've got different sorts of laser beams, different sorts of almost any sort of random blast you can possibly think of. Versatility. While Black Adam's got everything else in spades, with Galdo, you have the ability to stop time as long as you hold your breath. However, I picture him probably getting to do that once. Just once. He'll hold his breath and try to run, and the next time he goes to do it again, he's probably going to have Black Adam probably exploding through him. I mean, if you read Infinite Crisis, While Black Adam was facing Psycho Pirate, he was like, "You're not funny," and pushed his fist through his head. So it was like the world's most ultimate pie face. He took Psycho Pirate's mask and just went, and that was it. So I picture him doing that probably to Galdo relatively fast. Where everyone else has lots of different sort of energy projectiles and different sorts of blasts. If all 5 were to fight him at the same time, I can picture them probably dealing some damage, as long as they kept them at distance. So, X Factor. The X Factor for that, of course, is going to be the fact that he's facing a team. One guy who can stop time, and 2 guys in Inverter and Chase, who essentially can combine their attacks into a more powerful attack. Then, of course, Captain Ginyu at the exact same time has his own huge host of abilities that he actually can use. I'm actually reading from their wiki. So, almost everyone has, ki blasts, and energy beam attacks. Some of these things, I guess, are only in the video games. Yeah, I don't recall seeing Captain Ginyu use the Parmesan shower. That might have actually maybe been in like the non-American version. Telekinesis. There's a whole host of abilities that this team actually has if they get to work in unison. So if they get to work in unison, they stand a pretty good chance of being able to slow down Black Adam. However, with just about every single person, none of them having a level of invulnerability to take that much of what Black Adam can dish out, it's pretty much going to be, you have a pissed off Black Adam, they're going to do their, "We are the Ginyu Force," and they're going to pose. He's probably going to look, break the 4th wall, look at the reader, and then it's going to look like he fed him into a wood chipper. There's just going to be parts everywhere. Everywhere. You wouldn't tell, is that Chase's finger? Or is that a toe? Is that an eyeball? Is that a cheekbone? There's, even though they've got all these advantages, they've got him at range. They've got him when it comes to fighting ability. They've got him when it comes to overall versatility. They've got him when it comes to the ability to work as a team and have that much level of unity. They're taking down a guy who's just a ridiculous tank when it comes to these sorts of things. And ironically, like most of these fights between Dragon Ball Z and DC characters, if any character in DC were to have superpowers and were to have gone, "Hey, you know what, Batman? Yeah. Will you train me how to fight?" They would be ridiculous monsters. Think about it. Superman is like a punch sort of guy. Captain Marvel, punch. Black Adam, he's a punch guy. They rarely ever kick. We're not seeing, like elbows or knees. We're pretty much just seeing just straight, regular, like almost English-style fisticuffs. We're not seeing any sort of advanced martial arts techniques. Where in Dragon Ball Z, it's all advanced martial arts techniques. So, if Black Adam, from the process of World War III, were to take on the Ginyu Force, the Ginyu Force can work as a team. They can probably hold them off, which would probably just tick them off. But sooner or later, Black Adam is going to absolutely annihilate the Ginyu Force.